And g'day there, my name is Ozzy Stern, a country Victorian gamer of Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, X-Wing, Battletech, Dystopian Wars and many others. In this video I am starting my project work on Sabine Wren for Star Wars Legion, and I have to make a couple of decisions. Firstly, which Sabine am I going to paint? As you can see in the Star Wars Rebel series, each season had a different look for Sabine, with an additional type in the very last few scenes of Star Wars Rebel. For myself, I have chosen to go with the Sabine Wren from Season 3, as this one, which has white hair and pink hairlights, also had access to the Darksaber. I am using a paint colour guide from a person by the name of Sorastro, which I will link in the description. However, I have had to use my own different colours than the ones he's mentioned because of basically myself not having access to the paint ranges that he used. So please enjoy. To start off with, I've got a whole heap of colours behind. Some browns to go for the pantsers, greys for the armour sections, some blacks, oranges, blues, purples, and a lot of different colours that I will end up needing to mix in to get different shades of colours. So having a good paint range of any colours is going to be very important for Sabine. To start off with, I need to start work on the pants area. So I'm using this Talaran sand on the bottom section of the pants. This will go on the outside of the pants area. Then I will use a more darker or more leather colour, that beige brown, for the inner pad area of the model itself. Obviously, using a lighter shade first means that if I do make a mistake and go over any areas that shouldn't be, it will be covered up in subsequent colours. The next one I want to do, and I am going to fast forward quite a bit through all of these, is I want to put in the colour on the undershirt, or what is essentially the clothing that she's wearing underneath the armor breastplate. For this, I'm using a smoky ink color, which is not quite a black, but also not quite a brown sort of thing. So it's quite dark, oily looking, and I like that it's going to spread quite nicely. And it's not, like I said, a really dark black. It has a more sheen to it. You'll also notice that I've got the arm still and the head still detached on the ground there, and that's primarily to allow me to actually get into some of the finer tune area, and also will allow me to multi-part the model later on if I want to save some points by not giving her the Darksaber, or increase the points value by giving her additional things. I also thought about the idea of giving her like a Lego disc as her shield as well, but I couldn't get my son to give me some of his Lego. So once the undershirt is done, I wanted to put a little bit of a ash grey colour on the armour, just to give it a bit of shading for when I add more colour to it. The oak brown that I'm just working on right now, that's going to be for the bandoliers of ammunition around her ankle area, or at the tops of the boot. Now, there's no real line for where you need to colour, so you do have to just freehand it and very carefully go around the model itself. Other things to take care of is that you don't want to go too overboard with the colouring as you go around the model, because the next section will involve doing the area above and area below in a metal wash of some sort to represent the ammunition, which is rather strange when you think about it, seeing Sabine Wren didn't have too much in the way of ammunition for her pistols. I think it was more explosive cartridges that she kept in her anklets, like detonators or something or other. So as you can see, just freehanding that slightly darker brown. And I'm also going to use that same brown colour for the likes of the gun holster and the belts as well. When I get around to it. I've also, as you can see, painted the underside of the foot there in black. And I'll go back to do some more coloration on the foot momentarily. Now we're going to use some uniform grey on some of the more armour-plated areas that we will be using as the basis. So this includes the likes of the straps that go around the waist, the gauntlet area, as well as this grey will be a basis for the likes of the feet. And as you can see, I'm just using one of those foam packing twisties just to stick in the likes of the dark saber and also the blaster pistol, just so that it's a little bit easier to hold and manipulate those detached arms. So again, using some of that uniform grey, doing the chest, the top of the, I guess you would call it a shoulder braces as well. And also using that same grey colouring for the likes of the backpack before the main colour goes on it. I do find with this model that due to the fact that I don't have the head on it, it's a lot easier to do some of those top areas, and certainly for the jetpack, that area that I would normally not be able to get to was quite handy to do. Now the next step is, like I've indicated previously, using that oak brown for the likes of the holster and the belt. To do this, I'm just using a very fine brush to try and take all the surface areas. I guess would be the best way of explaining it, and also making ever so small strokes with it so I don't get the paint on the lighter areas of the pants. Now I could do this holster a couple of times in various lighter shades of brown to give it a more look of leather. And if I was to do something of a larger scale, like maybe Star Wars Shatterpoint scale for a model of this character, then I probably would do a few more layers. But I just find using the oak brown and then necessarily maybe using a wash later on of brown over the belt is just enough to give it the impression that it is leather. The next thing I'm going to do is use a mixture of this electric blue and white to create a very light blue for the belt buckle. I'll save some of this aside because I may use it later, and now mix up a mix of alien purple with white to get a nice pinky colour. I could have gone out and purchased some pink colour from one of the ranges, like a tentacle pink, but I thought mixing it myself is going to be okay and will be as cheap for me. Now I'm going to put this pink colour throughout the actual jetpack, and then I'm going to also retake some of that purple that I'm going to do to create the lines on it in a few minutes. And as you can see, now that it's all that nice pink has been added to it with the purple lines, it looks pretty good. Next, I'm using this Adeptus Battle Grey, or seeing this as a discontinued colour by Games Workshop. I believe there is an Adeptus Battle Grey in the base colour for the likes of the pants. This is a really nice, very dark grey colour. But it's doesn't have as much of the blue tinge like a shadow grey is. Instead, it's more of a charcoal type grey, which I found was pretty good as a foundation for the boots. Some people would suggest maybe putting a straight black, but I just like using this grey because I'm also going to be painting over this boot in some flash colours as well. So I didn't want the black to be too overpowering. And there's the boots done. Now I'm going to fast forward the rest of it. Here we are at the end, and as you can see, the colour process took a long time to get, and I couldn't even get it on film, half of it, because I was constantly referring back to the photos. As you can see, I've got her with her actual Darksaber and also helmet on, and I think I've done a pretty good job in many ways. The colour schemes is very similar. I've got that dark reddish around her vest, and I was able to, with her mask off, her helmet off, get that purple highlights into her hair, which you'll really notice when I do a close-up shortly. It really looks quite like that she's dyed her hair nicely in a way that is, I would say, natural. And I was also able to get a lot of expressionism in the face. But that is it for me for today from Aussie Stern. I'd like to say thank you, and please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're interested in more content, or check out one of my other playlists that I am including at the end here. But for now, bye.